The transport ship landed with a loud thud on the metal platform. Park Hannah pressed her face to the small window and looked out at her new home. The Galactic Defense Academy stretched across the horizon like a giant metal city. Tall towers reached up into the purple sky of Nexus Prime. Flying vehicles moved between the buildings like busy insects. Hannah picked up her small bag and walked toward the exit. She was nervous. Her hands were shaking a little. Round her other. New recruits were getting ready to leave the ship too. But they were nothing like her. A tall blue alien with 4 arms grabbed 3 bags at once. His muscles were huge. Next to him, a creature that looked like a walking tree moved slowly, but each step shook the floor. Behind Hannah, something that looked like a giant spider clicked its many legs on the metal ground. Hannah was just human. She was small, even for a human, only 5 feet tall. Her black hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. She wore the same gray uniform as everyone else, but on her, it looked too big. She felt like a child playing dress-up. Attention all recruits. A voice boomed through the ship's speakers. Exit the ship in order. Report to Building 7 for orientation. Do not wander off. This planet has dangerous wildlife. Hannah followed the line of aliens out of the ship. The air outside was warm and thick. It smelled different than Earth's air, sweet but also sharp. 2 suns hung in the sky, making everything look bright and strange. The academy was even bigger up close. Buildings rose up like mountains. Students and teachers of dozens of different species walked around. Some flew, some crawled, some moved in ways Hannah had never seen before. She felt very small and very alone. "Hey, you must be human too," a voice called out behind her. Hannah turned around. A young man with short black hair and a friendly smile was walking toward her. He was human, but tall and strong-looking. Much more like what she thought a soldier should look like. "I'm Lee June," he said, holding out his hand. "From the Mars colonies, Park Hannah," she replied, shaking his hand. "No. From the farming worlds? Farming worlds?" June raised his eyebrows. "That's ... different. Most humans here are from the military families or the tech worlds." Hannah felt her face get hot. "My family grows food, rice, vegetables, things like that." "I know it's not exciting." No, June said quickly. "I didn't mean it was bad. It's just ... Well, you're the first farmer I've met who wanted to join the military." They walked together toward Building 7. Around them, other recruits were talking in languages Hannah didn't understand. Some made clicking sounds. Others seemed to communicate with flashing lights on their bodies. "So why did you join?" June asked as they walked. Hannah was quiet for a moment. "I wanted to see the galaxy. My whole life I just saw the same fields, the same sky. When the recruiters came to our world, they said humans were needed. That we had something special to offer. And what's that?" "I don't know yet," Hannah said honestly. They reached Building 7. It was a huge round structure with no windows. Inside, hundreds of recruits sat in rows of seats. The ceiling was so high, Hannah couldn't see the top. A stage at the front had a podium where a tall figure in a black uniform stood waiting. The figure was clearly not human. It had green, scaly skin and yellow eyes. Its head was long and pointed, like a snake's. When it spoke, its voice was deep and rough. "I am Commander Vexstar," it said. "For the next 2 years, I will be your worst nightmare and your only hope of survival. You come from 47 different worlds. You represent 23 different species. Most of you will not graduate." Hannah felt her stomach drop. She looked around at the other recruits. They all seemed so much stronger, smarter, and more confident than her. "This academy trains the elite forces of the Galactic Defense Corps," Commander Vexstar continued. "We protect trade routes, explore new worlds, and defend against threats. It is dangerous work. It is important work. It is not for the weak." The commander's yellow eyes seemed to look right at Hannah. "Some of you are here because of your species' natural abilities. The Corthons have incredible strength." He pointed to the 4-armed blue aliens. "The Vexni have natural armor." He indicated creatures that looked like walking rocks. "Can survive in space without suits. Flying creatures with wings like bats, moved slightly in their seats. And then, Commander Vextar said, his voice getting colder, "We have the humans." Every eye in the room turned to look at the 12 human recruits scattered throughout the crowd. Hannah wanted to hide. Humans have no natural armor. They are not particularly strong or fast. They cannot fly or breathe underwater. They live short. Lives and break, easily. So why are they here? The commander paused, letting the question hang in the air. They're here because the council believes in diversity. They believe that every species has something to contribute. Your job is to prove them right, or prove them wrong. Hannah felt tears starting to form in her eyes. This was a mistake. She didn't belong here. She should have stayed on the farm. Now, Commander Vextar said, "Let me tell you about this world. Nexus Prime is not a safe place. It has predators that have killed trained soldiers. The most dangerous is the Shadow Maw. It is 8 feet tall, has claws that can cut through steel, and can become invisible. It is faster than a speeding vehicle. It is smarter than most of you." An image appeared on the wall behind him, showed a massive cat-like creature with glowing eyes and sharp spines along its back. Its teeth were as long as Hannah's fingers. Shadow Maws hunt in packs. They are perfectly adapted killers. In the past 5 years, they have killed 43 survey teams. They cannot be tamed. They cannot be reasoned with. They exist only to hunt and kill. The room was completely silent. Stay in the safe zones. Travel in groups. Follow all safety protocols. If you see a Shadow Maw, do not try to fight it. Do not try to run. Call for help, and pray you live long enough for it to arrive. Commander Vextar looked around the room one more time. Classes start tomorrow at dawn. Dismissed. It's the recruits. Started to leave, Hannah felt overwhelmed. June walked beside her, but even he looked worried now. "Are you okay?" I asked. "I don't think I can do this," Hannah said quietly. June said, stopping and putting his hand on her shoulder. "We're all scared, but we're here for a reason. Maybe we don't know what makes humans special yet, but we'll figure it out." Hannah looked back at the image of the Shadow Maw that was still on the wall. Its eyes seemed to stare right at her. She shivered and followed June out of the building. Had no idea that in just a few days, she would meet one of those creatures face to face, and her life would never be the same. 3 weeks had passed since orientation. Hannah was struggling with everything at the academy. Combat training was a disaster. She couldn't lift the heavy weapons that other recruits carried easily. Her punches did nothing to the training dummies. Even running was hard on this planet with its thick air. "Pathetic," muttered Kiramoth, an insect-like alien with 6 legs and sharp claws. "Why do we waste time training humans? They're too weak to fight." Hannah tried to ignore the comment, but it hurt. She wasn't the only one struggling. 2 other human recruits had already quit and gone home. The ones who stayed were all bigger and stronger than her. "Don't listen to her," June said after training. His face was sweaty, but he looked fine. "You're good at the strategy classes?" Commander Vextar said your battle plans were clever. "Clever doesn't matter if I can't fight," Hannah replied. She was tired and sore all over. That evening, Commander Vextar announced a night exercise. You will work in teams of 4. Each team gets a map and a target location. You must reach the target, retrieve the data crystal, and return to base. You have 6 hours. Hannah was put in a team with June, Kiramoth, and a big rock-like alien called Torgan. Kiramoth was clearly not happy about having 2 humans on her team. "Stay behind us," Kiramoth ordered. "Try not to get in the way." They set out into the jungle around the academy. The 2 moons made everything look silver and strange. Weird sounds came from the trees. Plants glowed with soft light. The air was full of strange smells. Hannah tried to keep up, but the others moved much faster. June stayed close to help her, but even he was struggling to match the alien's speed. "This way," Torgan said, his voice deep and slow. He pointed toward a thick part of the jungle. They walked for 2 hours. The jungle got thicker and darker. Hannah's legs were getting tired, but she didn't complain. She didn't want to give Kiramoth another reason to think humans were weak. "Wait," June said suddenly. "Where's the path?" They all stopped and looked. Around The jungle was so thick, they couldn't see the sky. Everything looked the same. Tall trees, thick vines, glowing plants. We're lost, Kiramoth said angrily. The humans slowed us down too much. Now we don't know where we are. I can find the way, Torgon said. He started walking in a different direction, but after 30 minutes they were still lost. The jungle seemed to go on forever. Worse, strange. Noises were getting closer. Howls and clicks that didn't sound friendly. We need to call for help, June said. No, Kiramoth said firmly. That will make us look weak. We can find our way. They kept walking. But the jungle was like a maze. Every direction looked the same. And the noises were getting louder. Then Hannah heard something that made her blood freeze, a low growl, deep and dangerous. It came from somewhere very close. Did you hear that? She whispered. Everyone stopped. The jungle went completely quiet. Even the insects stopped making noise. Shadowmaw Torgon said quietly, We need to leave now. They started moving faster. But the jungle was too thick. Branches caught their clothes. Roots made them trip. And behind them something large was following. Split up, Kiramoth ordered. Meet at the big tree we passed earlier? No, that's a bad idea, Hannah said. Should stay together. But Kiramoth was already running in one direction. Torgon went another way. June grabbed Hannah's hand. Come on, he said, this way. They ran through the thick jungle. Behind them, the growling got louder. Something was definitely following them. Something big. Faster, June said. He was pulling Hannah along, but she was too tired to run anymore. Ah! Can't? She gasped. Go without me. No way, June said. We stick together. But then Hannah's foot caught on a root. She fell hard, hitting her head on a rock. Everything went black for a moment. When she woke up, June was gone. She called his name, but there was no answer. The jungle was dark and quiet. She was completely alone. Hannah sat up slowly. Her head hurt, and she felt dizzy. She tried to figure out which way to go, but everything looked the same. She was lost in a jungle full of dangerous creatures. She started walking carefully. Every shadow could be hiding something dangerous. Every sound made her jump. She had no weapons, no communication device, and no idea where she was going. After what felt like hours, she saw a small clearing ahead. Maybe from there she could see the sky and figure out which way to go. She pushed through the last of the thick plants and stepped into the open space. That's when she saw the eyes, two glowing yellow. Eyes stared at her from the other side of the clearing. They were huge, much bigger than any animal she had ever seen. They were moving closer. Hannah's heart stopped. She couldn't breathe. This was a shadow maw, the deadliest predator on the planet. It's a creature that killed trained soldiers. The massive cat-like creature stepped out of the shadows. It was even bigger than the pictures had shown. At the shoulder, its body was covered in dark fur with white markings. Sharp spines ran down its back. Its teeth were like knives. Hannah knew she should run, or call for help, or do something. But she couldn't move. She was frozen with fear. Shadow Maw moved closer. Its yellow eyes never left her face. Its claws made soft sounds on the ground. This was it. This was how she was going to die. But then something strange happened. The creature stopped moving. It tilted its head like it was curious. It sniffed the air, trying to understand what she was. Hannah remembered something from her childhood on. The farm, when animals were scared or aggressive, you had to stay calm, had to show them you weren't a threat. Very slowly, Hannah sat down on the ground. She made herself as small as possible. She kept her eyes down, not looking directly at the creature. It's okay, she whispered. Her voice was shaking, but she kept talking. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm just lost. I'm scared too. The Shadow Maw took another step closer. Then it could smell its breath. She could hear its heartbeat. She was sure it was going to kill her. Instead, the creature sat down too. They stared at each other across the clearing. The predator and the prey. The hunter and the hunted. But something was different now. The Shadow Maw's eyes didn't look angry or hungry. They looked ... curious. "You're beautiful," Hannah said softly. "Scary but beautiful." The creature's ears moved forward. It was listening to her voice. Hannah started talking about anything she could think of. Her home planet, her family's farm, the animals she used to take care of. Her voice seemed to calm the creature. Hours passed. The Shadow Maw never moved to attack. It just sat there, listening to her talk. Sometimes it would tilt its head when she said something, almost like it was trying to understand. When the sun started to rise, Hannah heard voices in the distance. Search teams were looking for her. "Over here," she called out. The voices got closer. She could hear June calling her name. She could hear Commander Vexstar, angry voice ordering the search teams around. The Shadow Maw heard them too. It stood up, ready to run back into the jungle. "Wait," Hannah said. "Thank you for not hurting me." The creature looked at her one more time. Then it disappeared into the shadows like it had never been there. When the search team found her, Hannah was sitting alone in the clearing. She was dirty and tired, but completely unhurt. "What happened?" Commander Vexstar demanded. "Where have you been?" "I got lost," Hannah said. She didn't mention the Shadow Maw, who would believe her. But as they walked back to the academy, she felt like something had changed. She had met the deadliest predator on the planet, and instead of killing her, it had simply sat with her through the night. She had no idea that this was just the beginning. The next few days were strange for Hannah. She couldn't stop thinking about the Shadow Maw. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw those yellow eyes watching her. But she told no one about what really happened in the jungle. During combat training, she was still terrible, and during classroom lessons, she did better. But her mind kept wandering to that night in the clearing. "You seem different," June said one morning as they ate breakfast. More ... I don't know.com. "I'm fine," Hannah said. "Oh." She pushed her food around on her plate. The academy food was strange. It had to be safe for dozens of different species, so it tasted like nothing. "I'm sorry I left you behind," June said quietly. "When you fell, I should have stayed." "It's okay," Hannah said. "We were trying to get help." But June still looked guilty. It spent hours looking for her while she was sitting with the Shadow Maw. He had no idea how close she had come to death, or how close she had come to something else entirely. That afternoon, they had survival training in the jungle. Commander Vexstar led them to the edge of the safe zone. "Today, you will learn to identify dangerous plants and animals," he said. "Stay close to the group. Do not touch anything unless I tell you to." They walked into the jungle in a long line. Hannah was near the back, as usual. She wasn't strong enough to push to the front with the bigger recruits. Commander Vexstar showed them plants that could poison them, insects that could kill them, and tracks left by dangerous animals. Everything on this planet seemed designed to hurt them. "These are Shadow Maw tracks," he said, pointing to large paw prints in the mud. 4 claws, each one sharp enough to cut through armor. If you see tracks this fresh, you retreat immediately. Looked at the tracks. They were huge, much bigger than she had realized. The creature she had sat with could have torn her apart without even trying. "How do we know if one is nearby?" asked a blue-skinned alien. "You don't, Commander," Vexstar said. "That's what makes them so dangerous. They can hide in plain sight. They can move without making sound. The first sign of a Shadow Maw is usually the last thing you see." The group moved deeper into the jungle. Hannah stayed quiet, but she was paying attention to everything. The sounds, the smells, the way the light moved through the trees. Then she heard it. Soft rustling in the bushes nearby. The other recruits didn't notice, but Hannah's head turned toward the sound. Something was following them. Hannah's heart started beating faster. She looked around but couldn't see anything. The jungle was thick and full of shadows. Anything could be hiding out there. The rustling came again, closer this time. Hannah was sure now. Something large was moving through the jungle, keeping pace with their group. "Commander," she said quietly. "What is it, recruit?" Commander Vexstar asked. "I think something is following us." Everyone stopped. The jungle went quiet. Commander Vexstar pulled out a scanner and pointed it at the trees. "I don't see anything," he said after a moment. "False alarm." But Hannah was sure she was right. Something was out there, something big. They kept walking. The feeling of being watched never went away. Other recruits started to notice too. They kept looking over their shoulders. Everyone was nervous. Then, in a small clearing ahead, Hannah saw it, a flash of dark fur with white markings, yellow eyes watching from the shadows. It was the same shadow maw from the other night, and it was looking right at her. "There," she said, pointing toward the trees. Everyone turned to look. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the shadow maw stepped out of the shadows. The recruits screamed. Some ran. Others froze in fear. Commander Vexstar grabbed his weapon, but his hands were shaking. "Nobody move," he ordered. "Don't make eye contact. Don't run. Call for backup." It was looking at Hannah, and it was walking straight toward her. "Hannah, get back," June said, trying to pull her away. But Hannah didn't move. She watched the huge creature approach. Its yellow eyes were calm, not angry. It moved slowly, carefully. "It's okay," she said softly. "It's not going to hurt us." "Are you crazy?" Kiramoth hissed. "That thing will kill us all." The Shtauma stopped just a few feet away from Hannah. This close, she could see how beautiful it really was. Its fur was thick and soft-looking. Its white markings were like stripes of paint. Its yellow eyes were intelligent and curious. "Hello again," Hannah said quietly. The creature tilted its head, then it did something that made everyone gasp. It sat down, just like it had in the clearing. "Impossible," Commander Vexstar whispered. "Shadow maws don't behave this way." "What's it doing?" asked one of the recruits. "I think it remembers me," Hannah said. She slowly reached out her hand. "Is that right? Do you remember me?" The shadow maw leaned forward and sniffed her hand. Then, very gently, it touched her palm with its nose. Its nose was cold and wet, like a dog's. "This is not normal behavior," Commander Vexstar said. He was still holding his weapon, but he didn't seem to know what to do with it. Hannah started talking to the creature, just like she had before. She told it about her morning, about the strange food, about how tired she was from training. The shadow maw listened to every word. "You're lonely too, aren't you?" she said. "You don't have anyone to talk to." The creature made a soft sound, almost like a purr. It was the first time anyone had heard a shadow maw make a sound that wasn't a growl or a roar. "Need to get back to the academy," Commander Vexstar said now. But when they started to move, the shadow maw followed. Not hunting, not stalking.
I'll walk out.
Just walking beside Hannah like a very large pet. "Make it go away," Kiramoth said. She was walking as far from the creature as possible. "I can't make it do anything," Hannah said. "It's choosing to follow." "Why you?" June asked. "What's special about you?" Hannah didn't know how to answer. She wasn't special. She was just a small human from a farming planet. She had no powers, no special abilities. She was the weakest recruit at the academy, but for some reason, this deadly predator wanted to be near her. When they reached the academy, the shadow maw stopped at the edge of the safe zone. It sat down and watched as the group walked toward the buildings. "It's not leaving, Commander," Vexstar said. "It's just waiting." "Waiting for what?" asked Tor. Single quotes. Hannah looked back at the creature. It was still watching her. When she waved, its ears moved forward. "I think it's waiting for me," she said. That night, Hannah couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the shadow maw sitting outside the safe zone. Was it still there? Was it hungry? Was it cold? She got up and walked to the window. She could see the edge of the jungle. There, like a statue, was the Shadow Maw. Still waiting the next morning, it was still there. In the morning after that, other students started to notice. They would point and whisper when they saw it. "That's the human who tamed a Shadow Maw," they would say. But Hannah knew she hadn't tamed anything. If anything, the creature had chosen her. She just didn't know why Dr. Kim Taeon, the Academy's scientist, came to study the situation. He was a thin human with thick glasses and excited eyes. "This is incredible," he said, watching the Shadow Maw through binoculars. "No one has ever seen behavior like this. It's completely unprecedented." "Is it dangerous?" Commander Vexstar asked. "I don't know," Dr. Kim said, "but we need to find out. This could change everything we know about these creatures." That afternoon, Dr. Kim asked Hannah to meet him in his laboratory. The room was full of strange machines and glass containers with specimens inside. "I need to understand what happened," he said. "Tell me everything about your first encounter." Hannah told him about getting lost, about being scared, about sitting down and talking to the creature. Dr. Kim listened carefully, taking notes. "You weren't afraid?" he asked. "I was terrified," Hannah said. "But I knew that running would just make it worse. So I tried to stay calm." "And you talked to it?" "Yes, I talked about anything I could think of. My family, my home planet, my animals, back on the farm." Dr. Kim nodded. "Animals respond to calm energy. Maybe Shadow Maws are the same way." "Why me?" Hannah asked. "Other people have tried to study them. They all got killed." "Maybe because you didn't try to study it," Dr. Kim said. "You just talked to it, like it was a friend." That evening, Hannah stood at the window again. The Shadow Maw was still there. Waiting patiently, she made a decision. Tomorrow, she would try to get closer to it. She would try to understand what it wanted. She had no idea that this decision would change not just her life, but the future of human-alien relations in the galaxy. 2 weeks had passed since the Shadow Maw started following Hannah. Every day, it waited outside the safe zone. Every day, more people came to stare at it. News of the unusual situation had spread beyond the academy. Hannah had started visiting the creature at the fence line. She would sit on one side of the energy barrier while it sat on the other. She would talk to it for hours. Sometimes she would read from her textbooks. The Shadow Maw always listened. She had given it a name, Beak. It meant white in Korean. Because of the white markings on its dark fur, when she said the name, its ears would move forward like it understood. But not everyone was happy about the situation. "This is dangerous," said Admiral Zorthok, a tall alien with silver skin and too many teeth. He had come from high command to investigate. "Shadow Maws are killers. This one will eventually attack." "It's been 2 weeks," Dr. Kim argued. "Wanted to attack, it would have done so already." "Animals are unpredictable," the Admiral said, "especially predators." They were standing in Commander Vexstar's office, looking out the window at Hannah and Beak. The girl was reading aloud from a history book, while the massive descript creature lay in the grass like a giant cat. "The situation must be resolved," Admiral Zorthok said. "Either the human proves this relationship safe and useful, or both she and the creature will be relocated." "Relocated where?" Dr. Kim asked. "The human will be sent home. The creature will be captured and sent to a research facility." Dr. Kim's face went pale. "That would be like putting it in prison." "Better than letting it kill someone," the Admiral said coldly. Commander Vexstar had been quiet during the discussion. Now he spoke up. "What kind of test did you have in mind?" "Real mission," Admiral Zorthok said. "In the most dangerous part of the planet. If the human and the creature can work together to complete it, then perhaps this bond has value. If not," he didn't need to finish the sentence. The next morning, Hannah was called to Commander Vexstar's office. Admiral Zorthok was there, along with Dr. Kim and several other officers. "Sit down, recruit," the Admiral said. Hannah sat in the chair across from them. She felt like she was in trouble, but she didn't know why. "We need to discuss your pet," Admiral Zorthok said. "Beak isn't my pet," Hannah said. "He's just a friend." Friends don't usually have claws that can tear through armor, the Admiral replied. High Command is concerned about this situation. We need proof that this creature is not a threat.
Yes.
Never hurt anyone, Hannah said. Yet the Admiral said, We're going to give you a chance to prove that this bond you think you have is real and useful. You will lead a mission into the Forbidden Zone. Hannah's blood went cold. The Forbidden Zone was the most dangerous part of the planet. Even experienced soldiers avoided it. The mission is simple, Admiral Zorthok continued. Retrieve a data recorder from a crashed survey ship. The ship went down 3 months ago in a valley full of hostile wildlife. 2 rescue teams have already failed to reach it. I'll go with her, June said quickly. Hannah hadn't noticed him come into the room. You will, the Admiral agreed, along with 3 other recruits. If Recruit Park can use her ... connection, or the Shadow Maw to complete this mission, then we will consider allowing the relationship to continue. And if I can't, Hannah asked. You will be sent home, and the creature will be captured. Hannah felt sick. This wasn't fair. She hadn't asked for any of this. She had just tried to be kind to a scared animal. Do I have a choice? She asked. There is always a choice, Admiral Zorthok said. You can refuse the mission and accept immediate relocation. Hannah looked at Dr. Kim. He gave her an encouraging nod. I'll do it, she said. The next day, Hannah's team was assembled. Besides herself and June, there was Kiramoth, who still didn't trust humans. There was also Raxtol, a large reptilian alien who openly disliked humans and thought they were weak. I cannot believe I must risk my life because of a human's pet, Raxtol said as they prepared their equipment. It's not like that, Hannah said, but Raxtol ignored her. The biggest question was how to bring Beak along. The creature had never left the jungle around the academy. They had no way to transport something so large. Maybe it will follow us, Dr. Kim suggested. That morning, they gathered at the edge of the safe zone. Beak was waiting, as always. He saw Hannah with her pack and equipment. His ears moved forward. We're going on a trip, Hannah told him. A dangerous trip. I don't know if you understand, but I could really use your help. Beak stood up and took a step toward her. For the first time in weeks, he crossed the invisible line of the safe zone. It's following, June said in amazement. They set out in 2, the jungle. Ake walked beside Hannah like he had always been part of the team. The other recruits kept their distance, but they watched the creature constantly. The journey to the Forbidden Zone took 6 hours. The jungle got thicker and more dangerous as they traveled. Strange sounds echoed through the trees. The plants moved. When there was no wind, eyes watched them from the shadows. This place feels wrong, Kiramoth said. Her 6 legs moved nervously. Everything here wants to kill us, Raxtol agreed, but Beak seemed calm. His ears moved constantly, listening to sounds the others couldn't hear. Sometimes he would growl softly, and whatever was making noise in the bushes would go quiet. He's protecting us, Hannah realized. He's warning other animals to stay away. When they reached the Forbidden Zone, Hannah understood why it had that name. The trees were twisted and black. The ground was covered with strange fungus that glowed with sick light. The air smelled like rot and danger. The crash site is 2 kilometers ahead, June said. Checking his map, they moved carefully through the hostile landscape. Everything here seemed designed to hurt them. Plants with thorns, pools of bubbling acid, insects the size of birds with venomous stingers. Beak walked ahead of the group now, testing each step. When he stopped, they stopped. When he moved around something, they followed his path exactly. It knows this place, Hannah said. It knows what's dangerous. After an hour of careful walking, they reached the crash site. The survey ship was broken in half, lying in a deep valley. Around it, the ground was covered with the bones of animals that had tried to scavenge from the wreck. There, June pointed to a red light blinking inside the ship. That's the data recorder. But between them and the ship were dozens of creatures. Unlike anything they had seen before, they looked like giant spiders, but with too many eyes and mouths full of needle-sharp teeth. Scavengers, Raxtol said. They're feeding on the ship's crew. How do we get past them? Kiramoth asked. Hannah looked at Beak. The massive creature was studying the scavengers carefully. Then he looked at her and made a soft rumbling sound. I think he has a plan, Hannah said. Beak moved to the edge of the valley. Then he did something that surprised everyone. He roared. Not the soft sounds he made for Hannah, but a deep, terrifying roar that echoed through the valley. The scavengers looked up from their feeding. When they saw Beak, they scattered like leaves in the wind. Within seconds, the valley was empty except for the broken ship. Incredible, June whispered. He scared them all away. They climbed down into the valley. Beak went first, making sure it was safe. When they reached the ship, Hannah found the data recorder exactly where it was supposed to be. Mission complete, she said, holding up the device. But as they started to leave, they heard a new sound. Something much worse than the scavengers. Deep rumbling that seemed to come from underground. What is that? Kiramoth asked. The ground began to shake. Cracks appeared in the valley walls. And from the largest crack, something enormous began to emerge. It was bigger than Beak, bigger than anything Hannah had ever seen. It had too many legs and eyes that glowed red in the darkness. This was what had killed the rescue teams. Run, Raxdal said. But there was nowhere to run. The creature was blocking their only way out of the valley. Beak stepped forward, placing himself between Hannah and the monster. He was brave, but he was also much smaller than their enemy. No, Hannah said. You'll get hurt. But Beak wasn't planning to fight alone. He looked at Hannah and rumbled softly. Then he looked at the other recruits. Suddenly Hannah understood. Beak wasn't just protecting her. He was trying to tell them how to work together. He wants us to coordinate, she said. June, can you use your plasma rifle to hit its eyes? Kiramoth, your claws can cut through its legs if you attack from the side. Raxdal, you're strong enough to throw rocks at its head to distract it. And what will you do? Raxdal asked. I'll direct Beak, Hannah said. Together we can beat this thing. The first time, her team looked at her with respect instead of doubt. Even Raxdal nodded. For the record, he said, I no longer think humans are completely useless. The battle was fierce, but short. Working together with Beak's speed and the team's weapons, they defeated the monster. When it was over, they climbed out of the valley as heroes. The mission was a complete success. But more importantly, Hannah had proven that humans had something special to offer the galaxy. The ability to bring different species together and make them stronger as a team. When they returned to the academy, Admiral Zorthok was waiting for them. He looked at the data recorder, then at Beak, who was sitting calmly beside Hannah. Impressive, he said. Perhaps there is value in this partnership after all. Hannah smiled and scratched behind Beak's ears. She had found her place in the galaxy, and it was right beside her new best friend. News of the successful mission spread quickly throughout the academy and beyond. Within days, representatives from high command, scientists from dozens of worlds, and even reporters were arriving to study what they were calling the Nexus Miracle. Hannah found all the attention overwhelming. She was still the same small human from a farming planet, but now everyone wanted to talk to her, study her, and understand how she had done the impossible. How does it feel to be famous? June asked, as they watched another transport ship land at the academy. Scary, Hannah said honestly. I didn't do anything special. I just treated Beak like a friend. It's exactly what was special about it, said Dr. Kim, who had been documenting everything. No one else thought to treat a shadow maw like a friend. Was handling the attention better than Hannah. He seemed to enjoy being watched and admired. He would sit proudly next to Hannah during interviews, his white markings gleaming in the sunlight. The most important visitor arrived a week later. Ambassador Yunara was a senior human diplomat who represented Earth in the Galactic Council. She was elegant and confident, everything Hannah thought a leader should be. I've come to see this partnership for myself, Ambassador Yoon said. The Council is very interested in your achievement. They met in the Academy's main courtyard. Hannah sat on a bench with Beak beside her while Ambassador Yoon asked questions. Tell me about your first meeting, the ambassador said. Hannah told the story again, as she had dozens of times. But Ambassador Yoon listened differently than the others. She asked thoughtful questions and seemed to understand something deeper. Weren't trying to control the creature, Ambassador Yoon observed. You were trying to communicate with it. I guess so, Hannah said. I just wanted it to know I wasn't a threat, and that made all the difference, the ambassador said. She reached out slowly toward Beak. The massive creature sniffed her hand, then allowed her to pet his head. Remarkable. He trusts you completely. You trust each other, Hannah corrected. That afternoon, Admiral Zorthok called a meeting with all. The Academy's instructors and the visiting officials. Tana was asked to attend, along with her teammates from the mission. We need to discuss the implications of recent events, Admiral Zorthok said. This partnership has proven successful, but it raises questions about our training methods. What kind of questions? Commander Vextar asked. For centuries, we have trained soldiers to fight, to dominate, to overcome obstacles through force, the Admiral explained. But Recruit Park has shown us a different approach. She succeeded through understanding, cooperation, and trust. Older. Morden, an ancient alien who rarely spoke, stood up slowly. He was so old that no one knew exactly what species he was anymore. His voice was soft, but everyone listened. In my long life, I have seen many warriors, he said. The strongest, the fastest, the most skilled. I've never seen anything like what this young human accomplished. She did not conquer the beast. She befriended it. With respect, Elder Raxdal said, friendship will not win wars. Will it not? Elder Morden asked. Our wars are won when enemies become allies. When different peoples work together toward a common goal. Perhaps we have been thinking about strength in the wrong way. Dr. Kim stepped forward with a datapad. I've been studying Shadow Maw behavior since the first incident. We've learned more about them in the past month than in the previous 50 years. He showed them recordings of Beak interacting with other wildlife. The massive predator was not just a killer. He was intelligent, social, and protective of his territory and pack. Shadow Maws are not monsters, Dr. Kim continued. They're complex social animals with their own culture and communication methods. We only thought they were killers because we approached them as enemies. What are you suggesting? Admiral Zorthok asked. That we try Hannah's approach with other species, Dr. Kim said. Instead of studying dangerous animals from a distance, we try to communicate with them. We might discover that many hostile species are just misunderstood. Ambassador Yoon nodded thoughtfully. The galaxy is full of species we consider enemies, simply because we don't understand them. If humans have a natural ability to build bridges between different types of life, then humans could become the galaxy's diplomats, Elder Morden finished. The species that helps others understand each other. Over the following weeks, the Academy began to change. New classes were added about interspecies communication and peaceful first contact. Hannah became an unofficial instructor, teaching other recruits how to approach unknown creatures with patience and respect. The results were amazing. Soon, other recruits were making peaceful contact with species that had been considered dangerous. The jungle around the academy became a living laboratory where students learned that most creatures could be friends rather than enemies. Kiramoth was one of the most successful students. Her insectoid nature helped her communicate with hive-minded species that others couldn't understand. I was wrong about humans, she admitted to Hannah one day. I thought you were weak because you were small and soft, but you're strong in a different way. We're all strong in different ways, Hannah replied. That's what makes us a good team. Even Rackstool had changed his opinion. The big reptilian had always believed that strength meant fighting. But he had learned that sometimes the strongest thing you could do was choose not to fight. On my home world, we have a saying, he told Hannah. Mightiest warrior is one who wins without battle. I never understood it until I met you. As graduation approached, Hannah faced a choice. She could accept a traditional military assignment, or she could join a new program being created specifically for her talents. The Galactic Council wants to establish a First Contact Corps, Ambassador Yoon explained. Teams of specialists who make peaceful contact with unknown species. You would be perfect for it. What about Beak? Hannah asked. He would come with you, of course. The ambassador smiled. You're a team now. Graduation day arrived with great ceremony. Representatives from dozens of worlds came to watch. Hannah was nervous as she walked onto the stage, but Beak walked beside her with confidence. Commander Vextar had the honor of presenting her commission. Lieutenant Park Hannah, he said, you have shown us that true strength comes not from the power to destroy, but from the wisdom to understand. As Hannah accepted her new rank, she looked out at the audience. She saw her fellow recruits, her instructors, and visitors from across the galaxy. But most importantly, she saw hope. When I first came here, she said into the microphone, I thought I was too small, too weak, too ordinary to be a soldier. I was right. I'm not a soldier in the traditional sense. But I learned that the galaxy doesn't need more warriors. It needs more friends. The audience erupted in applause. Species that had been enemies for centuries clapped together. It was a small step, but it was the beginning of something bigger. After the ceremony, Hannah and Beak walked to their favorite spot at the edge of the jungle. The two suns were setting, painting the sky in brilliant colors. Ready for our next adventure? She asked Beak. The massive creature rumbled softly and nuzzled her shoulder. Together, they would explore the galaxy, meeting new species and building bridges between different worlds. Hannah had learned something important at the academy. She wasn't special because she was strong, or fast, or smart. She was special because she understood that everyone, no matter how different or scary they seemed, just wanted to be understood. And in a galaxy full of diverse life forms, that was the most powerful ability of all. Elder Morden had been right. Sometimes the greatest victory came not from conquering your enemies, but from turning them into friends. And Hannah, the small human from a farming planet, had become the galaxy's greatest teacher of that lesson. As they sat together watching the sunset, both human and Shadowmaw knew that their story was just beginning. The galaxy was vast and full. Fwandas waiting to be discovered. They would discover them together, one friendship at a time.